Good morning and welcome back to Grindhouse, where we drink coffee and talk about movies. My name is Shawn and today with my girlfriend and co-host Leah Diana, we'll be winding back the reel to 1987, where a young group of monster fanatics attempt to save their hometown when it is descended upon by Count Dracula, who enlists the rest of the classic monsters to track down a magical amulet in The Monster Squad. Let's get into it.
Gentlemen, do you see these file folders? Discipline reports. Lots of them.
You see, sir, we kind of have this monster club.
Monsters are not real.
You guys missed it! Oh, Rocky. Rudy saved my life.
Yeah, what the hell's Monster Squad?
It's us. We're the Monster Squad.
Good and evil are in constant flux back and forth. Only once every 100 years are these forces balanced.
And what about the amulet?
At the stroke of midnight, the amulet becomes vulnerable. And at that moment, it can be shattered.
There's a monster in my closet.
Ooh, scary monster!
Greatest of the night show in the world. And there is no one to stop
I think there's monsters, like real ones. He was a werewolf. Mummy disappeared from the museum tonight. And guys, Dracula might be here too.
Spread the word, you dirty cocksuckers. Tell all your grave robbing friends I want them out of the city now!
The nightmare of insane murder. From the depths of hell. Screaming angel of death. Only at the Grindhouse.
Welcome back to Grindhouse, where we made it all the way to episode 40.
Yeah.
We're enjoying another cup of Pete's Coffee, Major Dickinson's brand, while we talk about The Monster Squad. I am so fucking pumped for this one.
I've never seen him have this much excitement. Ever.
Listen, I fucking love Monster Squad. I have always loved fucking Monster Squad.
This was definitely a surprise that I've never seen this film.
I don't know how. You never came across it at all?
Never.
Never.
We weren't a big Halloween family.
Although you've also never seen Goonies, so...
No, I actually... I'm about ready to put a nail in the coffin of Get Out of Here, you pariah. I've never cared for the Goonies. I've never had any desire to see it ever. I think it's a silly little movie.
We're gonna have to fix that.
I know. This was a cute little movie. A silly little movie.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely silly.
But I'm shocked that I'm gonna need more Pete's Coffee, goddammit. I'm shocked I never saw this. I really am, because it seems like the type of movie that you would see in like the late 80s, early 90s as a kid.
You'd think you would have like come across it on television, or maybe somebody would have shown it to you at some point.
I was one of the oldest cousins, so if anybody was going to stumble on this and show this to anybody, it would be me showing it to everybody else.
Fair enough. Well, for those who don't know what the Monster Squad is, it is a black comedy horror film from director Fred Dekker, who, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated directors to ever grace Hollywood. I love everything this man has ever done for the most part. I'll put a pin in that because, you know, he did direct one of the terrible RoboCop sequels. I forgive him. He's a great filmmaker, and I don't think he gets the attention he deserves. I mean, for fuck's sake, this is the guy that brought us Night of the Creeps.
Wait, it's the same director?
Same director.
Oh.
This film was written by both Fred Dekker and Shane Black, who Shane Black went on to become a well-known director and also the writer of the Lethal Weapon films.
Oh, shit.
This movie stars Andre Gower, Robbie Keeger, Stephen Mack, I think his last name is pronounced Mack, but it has a T at the end, Duncan Rieger, Stan Shaw, and Tom Noonan. This movie was originally released August 14th, 1987. It was made on a budget of $12 million and unfortunately only brought in a box office of $3.8 million.
It still brought in millions.
Still brought in millions, but it is a tremendous failure by those numbers.
Yeah, well, Hollywood's a bunch of dicks, so yeah.
Yes. Which, we might as well just get into it now. It's because of this movie that Fred Dekker basically gave up in a lot of ways. He has directed things since. He's directed a lot of TV episodes and a couple of other movies, but this movie, as far as I am aware, it was like his last big passion project. And the failure of this one brought him down to such a level where he just assumed that nothing he ever made was any good and that nobody cared. And it destroys me to know that. I learned all this from the documentary that we mentioned at the end of last week's episode. It's called Wolfman's Got Nards. It's about the making of this film. And in that, him and several others talk about the fact that he just didn't know that his films were popular. He just assumed that everybody hated his work, and he was basically just working for the money after that.
Does he know how popular he is now?
He's beginning to learn. Like, the making of that documentary really opened his eyes to how much of a cult fan base his movies like The Monster Squad, Night of the Creeps, and things like that have started to gain over the years. And I think he's aware of it now. I don't know if it's really gonna help based on how long he's assumed.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say this has always been a prominent film in my eyes. I've always loved this. I've always loved Night of the Creeps. Like, I love his style. I love how much he puts into something that most people would find laughable. There's so much detail and emphasis and a love of the genre put into his work that you don't really find in a lot of other movies.
So this is his second film we've watched. What, Night of the Creeps?
Yes.
Night of the Crips, as we say in this house.
Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps. And now we've seen Monster Squad. I have to say this man's attention to detail is uncanny. The fact that certain things, when I watched it, I knew the references immediately. It didn't take me very long to understand half of these references. Like, I really did enjoy that the little girl befriended Frankenstein. That is a huge nod to the actual Frankenstein tale, the Frankenstein story. I love the small nods to very, very little things, very key details that I'm like, while watching this, I'm like, this is a cute movie. This is a good movie. But then you're like, this is my first viewing of this. And my second viewing of Night of the Creeps was when we reviewed it earlier this year. Honestly, I'm shocked that this man didn't do more. Imagine if he kept going, how detail-oriented and how good his movies could have become.
Yeah, I agree.
I wish this director, he's got to be not even like that old. Like,
no.
Prominent director in the 80s, he's got to be one of his 50s, 60s now.
Yeah, and he made Night of the Creeps, I think, right out of college. Like, he was like 1920 or something like that.
Okay, it shows. It shows with some of the humor in that movie, the college humor. But you had Tom Atkins in your movie, for God's sakes. Like, half of the people in this movie, I was like, I recognize him. I recognize him. I know who that is. You had predominant actors in this movie.
Let's go through the roll call real quick. So the star of the film is young Andre Gower.
I recognized him. I don't know who he is, but I recognize him.
He plays Shawn in this movie, our central protagonist and leader of the Monster Squad.
Shawn.
We have Stephen Mack, who's Dell, Shawn's dad. He's the town, like, I don't think he's the sheriff. He's like the detective.
Yeah.
Works for the police station. Duncan Rager plays Count Dracula, and he is fucking phenomenal in this movie.
I recognize him, but I wasn't sure what he was from at all.
I don't, off the top of my head, know exactly what he's done, like, in terms of his filmography. This is, at least according to IMDb, his most prominent role.
I think maybe I've seen his Dracula before, but just never knew who the hell it was.
He's also in the miniseries V with Robert Englund.
Never seen it.
I have the VHS over there.
Why am I not surprised?
Let's see. You've got Tom Noonan, who I think kind of steals the show as Frankenstein.
Tom Noonan.
Oh, yeah. If you've seen his face, you'd be like, oh, it's that dude.
Well, he's in the makeup, so...
Yeah.
Excuse me while I go to Wikipedia.
While she does that, you've got Robbie Keeger, who plays young Patrick, Brent Chalum, who plays Horace, or Fat Kid.
Fat Kid.
Michael Faustino, who plays Eugene. Ashley Bank plays young Phoebe. Ryan Lambert is Rudy. There's a lot of no-name actors. You got people popping up in here, though, like Carl Tebow, who plays the Wolfman. I've seen him in countless other things.
Yeah.
A young Jason Hervey, who plays EJ, the bully.
And I was like, I know that face. I was like, oh, the Wonder Years.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of little casting choices made in this of people you've probably seen 100 times. Actually, another good one is somebody you'd never know was in the movie, Tom Woodruff Jr., who plays the Gill Man. Okay. He's basically most well known for playing creatures, so you wouldn't know his face, but he plays like monsters in a bunch of different movies.
Wait a minute. Hang on. I just saw that this man won an Academy Award for his best special effects work on the 92 dark fantasy Death Becomes Her. Didn't they do Death Becomes Her at ILM? ILM.
Yes, I think that might have been in the time before ILM really became ILM, but
I'm just sitting here going, are you telling me, oh, he's in Pumpkinhead?
He is.
Aliens, Tremors, Jumanji. Oh, dude, oh yeah, he worked for ILM.
I'd like to make an addendum. Because I made a mistake here.
Oh no.
Carl Tebow was the man in the Wolfman costume. The actual guy playing the Wolfman, is John Grease.
This actually credits him for both. John Grease.
John Grease may have also been in the costume at certain points, but on IMDb, Carl Tebow is listed as Wolfman, in the costume.
This man's got a lot of Men in Black, Napoleon Dynamite, Taken 2, Taken 3. This man has done a lot. Holy shit. His IMDb is ridiculous. He was in The Pretender from 96 to 2000. He played Lost. Played Roger in Lost. I don't know who that is because I gave up on Lost very quickly. Wow. These guys are definitely you've got some heavy hitters in this list.
Well, there's also a lot of little things throughout this movie, Dustin Diamond has a small role in this.
Screech was in this?
Dustin Diamond plays a kid who tries to trade baseball cards with the boys. The scene, I should mention, was cut.
Oh, okay.
But there was a scene where Dustin Diamond was in this movie.
Damn.
And since we're talking about the cast, one really sad note that I'd like to mention, because it always kills me when I'm reminded of this. Actor Brent Challam played Horace, fat kid.
Yeah.
He tragically passed away of pneumonia in 1997.
Oh,
so
shit.
Not long after this movie was made. Because this was, what?
87.
87, so 10 years.
He probably wasn't... Oh, he was young. He was like a teenager.
Very, very young.
Oof.
And I honestly think he probably would have had a much bigger career than he had.
Yeah, because he was kind of a badass kid in this movie.
He was not even just that, he was funny. He was like enjoyable to watch throughout all the scenes.
I like the action cop scene at the end, like when he cocks the gun, I'm like, hey, that's fucking funny.
The name's Horace.
gives hope to every fat little kid.
Oh, it really does. Not to mention, he has the most memorable line in the movie.
Wolfman's got nards. When, oh my god, I actually in my head was, he said the thing. He said the thing. Yeah, it gives hope to every little fat kid in the world. Like, hey, you too can become an action star someday.
There's a lot of other little ones, like Liam Neeson was paid for a bit part that never got shot.
What?
Liam Neeson was almost in this movie. Technically, Stan Winston, who did all the creature effects for the film,
yeah,
is in the movie.
Where is he in the movie?
In some form.
Okay.
So he actually, the face of the Wolfman was modeled after his. Which, if you look at a picture of the Wolfman and him side by side, you can kind of see it.
I was gonna say, that Wolfman looks real fucking weird.
It's just a little bit, like you can see like some features that match.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Okay. I remember, I just was looking at him going, why did that fucking man's face... This man is responsible for that fucking weird-ass little baby T-Rex in the second Jurassic Park.
Stan Winston did the effects for so many fucking movies. It's unbelievable.
Damn.
And his team is still doing them.
Are they? Is he still around, Mr. Winston?
No, he passed away, unfortunately.
When did he pass away?
I forget. But before we actually get into the movie itself, it's worth noting that this movie was almost like significantly higher budget than it actually ended up being.
Really?
Yeah. According to Fred Dekker, Shane Black's first draft of the script was so huge. The opening of the movie featured Van Helsing accompanied by all his cohorts and like basically hundreds of men on horseback storming Dracula's castle, and like Dekker was like, this would cost more than the entire movie. Like, you wish to cut this down.
But when you're passionate about a project, like I've seen some filmmakers that I know, several filmmakers that I know, y'all are crazy. And when you're passionate about a project, you're passionate about a fucking project.
Yeah, we certainly can be.
Like, I've seen you with some of the things that you've written, not necessarily have directed yet because they are yet to be directed. You have changed them so many times from your original idea for budget, for practical effects, for things like that. And in my mind, it's like, how grand can this actually be in someone with a creative mind?
I mean, it can always be huge. I mean, some of the people I've worked with, I still work with, some of their ideas are so outside of their capability at this present moment that it's like, how do you expect to do this? Like,
yeah,
not everybody thinks while writing with a practicality. Like, sometimes they just write to get it out onto the page, and then they're like, oh, I'll figure out how to do it later.
Yeah, that's later. That's later so-and-so's problem. And then later so-and-so's like, you son of a bitch.
Me personally, like, I always try to write, when I write, with like my limitations in mind. So like, if I try not to write things that are outside of my capability. But
I do have to say, some of the things that you have written that are within or a little out of reach really aren't that bad.
I try. So, shall we get into this?
Yes, this was all you. I was so engrossed in kind of paying attention to this film because, as you said at one point, this jumps.
Yeah, so this movie, it does jump around between characters a lot. So I tried my best to do a play-by-play, like a breakdown of the whole thing, but I honestly only got about midway, and then I just started taking notes on things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So we'll get into it, but we're probably going to trail off from the breakdown.
Yeah.
So best place to start is the first thing, which is an opening text crawl. A little bit Star Warsy. But
yeah.
The text crawl reads, 100 years before this story begins, it was a time of darkness in Transylvania, a time when Dr. Abraham Van Helsing and a small band of freedom fighters conspired to rid the world of vampires and monsters, and to save mankind from the forces of eternal evil. They blew it.
That's it. That's the end. The end line is they blew it, which makes me laugh because this movie has one hell of a fucking sense of humor right off the bat. It doesn't shy away from like, oh, this is a serious film. No, it's like, oh, they done fucked up before they even began.
Yeah. So we open with this raid on Dracula's castle. We actually, a couple moments before that, we see Dracula in the castle. He's kind of, I forget what he's doing exactly, but one thing I wanted to note was you questioned why are there armadillos walking around in the background.
Why were there armadillos in Transylvania?
And I actually do have an answer for that. So we see armadillos like just kind of walking around in the fog, and that's because it's a reference to the 1931 Dracula, where in the scene where Bela Lugosi is giving Dwight Fry the tour of the castle, you see armadillos crawling around. So it's just a little subtle nod.
All right. Well, then we'll go to why were there armadillos in the earlier one? What?
Let me see, make sure there's no answer for that.
Were they like rats weren't available, so we got an armadillo instead?
So in the original, so I do have an answer to that.
Okay.
In the original film, the armadillos, they're indigenous to the Americas. So in the original movie, they're seen as a goof. So them putting them in here was just a nod to that.
Oh, okay. All right. See? Lost my train of thought in the middle of saying that's interesting. What is wrong with me today? Like, that's...
Come back.
Come back.
So Van Helsing and his guys are beginning to raid the castle. This William Zabka looking motherfucker throws dynamite at the door and blows it open.
Really? Like, I was like, what?
The guy that throws the dynamite looks a lot like him.
He does.
Van Helsing brings in this young virgin girl to perform a spell to like banish Dracula into, I believe they call it, it's like the void or something. It's like a space between
worlds. They said limbo.
Limbo. All right, there we go. And this scene gets very hectic very fast. So it's like storming outside and shit is... The castle's like falling apart. Dead start rising out of the ground. Dracula's brides are attacking them.
Shit has officially hit the fan.
The girl speaks the spell, opens the portal, and it starts sucking everything through, including them.
Yep.
And we flash forward to present day to a classroom where we meet our protagonist, Shawn. And he's getting reamed by what I think is the principal.
I figured it was the principal.
And he's dressed in his classic Stephen King Rules t-shirt.
Which you commented that you own that shirt.
I do own that shirt.
Where is that shirt? I've never seen you wear that shirt.
I don't think I ever have worn it. I bought it at one point and I just haven't ever had an occasion.
You've never worn your Stephen King Rules shirt?
I don't think I have.
We're going to change this.
I'm going to have to find it. I know it's somewhere. But I don't know.
Because it's not black.
It isn't black. It's bright red. We then cut outside where we meet Fat Kid, a.k.a. Horace, which is the most unfortunate nickname that a character could have.
Honestly, I think they could have gone better. Like Lardo, Tubba Lubba, something creative. Fat Kid?
Simplicity is best.
If somebody called me, hey, Fat Kid, I would have been like, really? That's the best you can do, simpleton?
In this scene, he starts getting beaten up by the school bully. who's apparently named EJ.
Which made me laugh. I was like, EJ, you say, huh?
And he gets saved by the badass of the group, Rudy.
Who's in middle school. I went, what kid is a badass in middle school?
Rudy. Fuck yeah.
I call bullshit.
We quickly get introduced to the concept of there's this scary old German guy living in the neighborhood.
And his credit is scary German guy.
His credit is scary German guy.
I'm like, oh, who's this actor? He's a famous actor from the from the golden Hollywood days. And his name and credit in this is Scary German Guy.
It's awesome.
Oh my god. The 80s were a different time, kids.
The guys discuss letting Rudy join their monster club, which, yes, the group in this movie is essentially a group of kids who are just obsessed with monsters.
So this mirrors the Goonies, like, pretty
closely.
Pretty closely. Okay.
And they end up giving him this monster test, which is basically consists of asking him questions to test his knowledge about monsters.
But all Rudy cares about is the fact that there's binoculars leading into one of the kids' sister's bedrooms while she's undressing.
Yeah, and for some reason she always undresses in front of the open window.
Open. But she's nice enough to turn around to not show her boobs, but she's almost full frontal nudity at one point, and I'm like, no, stop. Get some help.
In this same sequence, we learn that Shawn's sister wants desperately to join the Monster Squad.
She's 5, by the way.
She's 5.
And it's adorable.
Just after this, Shawn's mother gives him Van Helsing's journal.
Which they found
in like an old house.
In the abandoned house that Dracula was in.
Yes.
Who went to that abandoned creepy house and found Dracula's journal?
Van
Helsing's journal.
And amidst all of this, Dracula has indeed returned, and he's rounding up the monsters. And he seems to have some kind of control over them, possibly due to his like mystical abilities.
Except for Frankenstein.
But Frankenstein still calls him Master throughout the movie.
He calls him Master, but I feel like Frankenstein. So everyone knows the story of Frankenstein. You know, he was pieced together by Dr. Frankenstein. I believe it's supposed to be Frankenstein. It's a German name.
Yeah.
And when they put him together, his brain was that of an abnormal brain. And people were like, oh, they used the brain of someone with, special needs. I've never believed that. I believed that he was someone who had more of a simple mind, but was very logical and intelligent. So he could decipher right from wrong. He was a very misunderstood creature. And I think this director went that way too, where Dracula's like, you will get this book from the children, and if they don't give it to you, you'll kill them. And he's like, I don't want to kill them, they're children. And he befriends Phoebe right away. Yeah. Like, instantly, he befriends the 5-year-old.
And that's in, like, a scene that's a complete homage to Frankenstein
to the original
itself.
Where he walks up to her, and they become friends. Did she scream at that point? I don't think she screamed.
No, so in the original Frankenstein, he walks up to her and they share, like, a moment. She's like, hi! And she gives him a flower. Yep. But then there's like a misunderstanding where he's like tries to play with her and he throws her in the water and apparently she dies.
I thought it was he went to go pick her up and he squeezed her too hard and it squished her.
No, he tosses her in the water in the movie, and I think you're supposed to assume she drowned.
Yeah.
And then everybody goes after him for that. And then he's very upset.
He even mourns her in that point. Like, I didn't mean to do this. This wasn't what I meant to do.
Yeah.
But I think he sees Phoebe as a chance to redeem himself at that point. Because he immediately befriends the kids and learns late 80s slang like bogus. He says bogus. Bogus. I was
says it a couple times in the movie.
So cute. But I really like that little attention to detail where this director is making sure he's making sure that each monster has its own little throwback, like the Wolfman, where when he's out of Wolfman, He's like, you need to help me. I'm going to turn into the wolf man. You know, you've got to help me. Lock me up. Don't let me go back. He's two different minds, which is how the original Wolfman is.
Yeah.
He is of two minds. He does not know what Wolfman does as opposed to human.
Well, you mentioned that there's a lot of detail in this movie, and like that is not an understatement. There's a tremendous amount.
Huge.
And like just some of the, I only wrote down a few here and there, but some of the ones I wrote down, there's like the fake slasher movie series that's Shawn is obsessed with, which is, it's called Groundhog Day, which is apparently on part 7.
Oh my god, I thought he was literally watching Groundhog Day for the 7th time. I thought he was going to see Groundhog Day.
No, because if you listen to his dad describing it, it's a slasher movie series. It sounds absolutely ridiculous.
And
I wish it was real.
You're telling me no director, no writer in the world has decided, let's make Groundhog Day an actual slasher series?
Unfortunately, no.
Well,
I would do that.
Fans of this director, you know what to do.
There's a lot of detail, like the fact that the parents are having marital issues.
Yeah.
And like the kids are like affected by it, but it almost, maybe that's what's pushing them into these like distancing themselves from reality with like the monster stuff.
Like, oh, if I like monsters, you know, maybe it'll take me away from the fact that my parents hate each other.
Then there's stuff like the something I absolutely love. One of the, it's such a small scene and it means basically nothing, but is when, so the dad gets called into work and the mother's all pissed at him. He goes in and we have the whole scene with the guy screaming about being a werewolf and the Wolfman wants to be locked up. But then you see him come home and and Shawn is up on the roof watching the movie at the drive-in because apparently they live near it.
Yep.
He's up on the roof. He's watching it through binoculars. He's got the radio tuned so he can hear it. And his dad just comes out onto the roof with a bag of burgers, sits down with him, and watches the movie.
And says, what did I miss?
It's such a cool little scene because it's like you see that, yeah, his parents are struggling, but
he doesn't forget that he has kids.
He still he loves his kids. He connects with them. He takes the time to bond with them when he can.
He doesn't forget that these aren't just their kids, never mind. Anything that goes on with your kids, if you're fighting, a divorce, anything bad, kids fucking notice everything. And I'm saying this very bluntly as a child of a divorce. Your children notice every single thing that happens. And while you might think you're hiding it pretty well, your kids don't know what's going on, they know more than you think. And it does affect them. And I think these parents, while the mom even says, Phoebe's like, oh, are you going to yell at him for scaring me? And he's like, oh, I'm not going to yell at him. I love him very much. Oh, no, I meant Shawn. Oh, I'll have a talk with him. But the parents are trying.
Yeah.
And this is a silly little monster movie. But there's so much heart in this that you sometimes overlook that this director, really, really tried.
Well, generally, in a movie like this, the parents would be very disconnected from the kids. They would be there as the parental figures, but they would always be the ones that are just like, you're fine. We're busy. Get
out of trouble. Leave me alone. Go do something. Get out of here. That kind of thing.
Just the fact that they took the time to show these little moments. Or before his dad has to go to work and he's telling him, I'm sorry, you gotta stay home. You can't go to the movie. You gotta stay home and watch your sister.
You got a 5-year-old sister that I need you to watch.
But they have this whole conversation about the movie, and you can tell that it's this is a passion they share. They both watch these kinds of things. His dad knows all about this Groundhog Day series.
Putting a pin in this at the moment. Let's get back to that. What was wrong with you people in the 80s that would let your children watch slasher movies? This kid had to be in 3rd or 4th grade. Maybe 5th. I'm looking dead in the eyes at you.
Listen, we fucking turned out fine.
I don't know about that.
I'm fine. Everything is fine. I just have an obsession with movies. I think I got out unscathed.
Don't worry, my ass just got a little singed, but I'm alright.
And honestly, the biggest and most prominent one for me that I noted was Scary German Guy.
Yep.
So you're introduced to the idea of him, that he's this like creepy guy, watches the kids in the neighborhood through his window. And when Shawn gets the diary, he realizes that it's in German. So he has to find somebody to translate it. That's where he goes. They bring him this diary, and he invites them into his house. He gives them pie.
Yep.
He's wicked sweet to them. And there's this moment when they're leaving. He translates the diary for him, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's this moment when they're leaving when he's kind of joking with him, and he's like, hey, like, you probably thought I was a monster, but if I was a vampire or something, I wouldn't have a reflection. And I think it's Horace who says, man, you seem to know a lot about monsters. And he says,
you're right about
perhaps you're right, maybe I do. And he closes the door, and you see that he has a concentration cramp.
Numbers on his stamp on his arm, and I went, oh my god!
Like, that he knows monsters more than anyone because he has lived through them.
That sent a shiver through me. I'm like, ooh.
But that's a detail that you wouldn't expect in a movie like this.
Nope. And you don't think, like, watching it as a kid, you really wouldn't understand that because this is 87. Obviously, you were not born yet. I was 2. Like, if I watched this in the 90s, I wouldn't understand that. I would have no idea what that meant. And now watching this, like, as an adult, I'm like, yeah, this is a monster movie, but this man lived through the worst monsters of anybody's lives.
It's almost like Dekker was trying to put a moment in there to remind the audience that, yeah, we're telling you a fun story about monsters, but real monsters exist.
Yep.
And that fucking hits me every time I see this movie.
That was that moment. You know when we watch a scene and we're like, ooh, that one went, ooh, I gotta go. Ooh, I gotta get out of here. Like that definitely, like, whacks you right in the feels.
There's a direct Night of the Creeps homage in this.
Where?
So, there's a sequence, I think it's a little after we learn about the German guy.
Yeah.
That Shawn's dad and his partner, who, by the way, that relationship is fucking hilarious.
I see where the influence for the Lethal Weapon series came from.
Yeah, you have that tough as nails, no bullshit cop and his wisecracking fucking sidekick.
Partner? Oh my god.
So they get called to the town museum because a 2,000-year-old mummy disappeared.
Just up and walked away, yeah.
And there's a moment in this sequence where Shawn's dad just looks at I don't know if he's talking to his partner or to the security guard, but he's like, look, 2,000-year-old dead guys don't just get up and walk away by themselves. That's an exact line that
Tom says?
That Tom Atkins says in Night of the Creeps.
I really wanted a good news is the monster's here, bad news is you dead, or some stupid line like that.
Oh, that would have been fun.
But, this director doesn't understand how iconic that line is in this household.
Oh, God.
That and fucking the one thing that I absolutely can't stand more than, oh my God.
Leah, thrill me.
Well, this is the end of the podcast. I'm going to yeet myself out that front window right now. Yay!
The music in this movie is fucking phenomenal.
It was really good, yeah.
I mean, you got your blend of classic 80s music there's actually a couple of actual songs. I believe they were both done by Michael Sembello. There's Rock Until You Drop and the Monster Squad rap.
Was that the one at the end?
The Monster Squad rap was, yeah. Rock Until You Drop plays during like the montage in the middle of the movie.
Okay.
Where they're like
making the bullets, sharpening the stuff. Yeah.
You show Rudy making wooden stakes in shop class and silver bullets in some other class.
That Shawn stole from his mom's silver utensils.
Yep.
Did your parents ever have silver growing up?
No.
My parents
We
did.
were poor as fuck. We didn't have anything.
We had hand-me-down silver.
We didn't have anything. We were lucky if we had Walmart fucking utensils.
Did your grandparents have the fine dining set or the room that you don't sit in?
No.
We had that too.
I think like my grandparents on my dad's side had like the hutch, which would have like old dishes.
All the knickknacks and stuff.
But like that was about it. Like there was never any like.
Sean's mom reminds me of that. Like the fine china, the fancy outfit. Like we only eat in this room on special high occasions like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter. That kind of shit. I was just like, oh, I'm having like flashbacks to the 90s. I just watched Sean's head go.
So this is about the point where like notes went out the fucking window.
It gets very jumpy
because it's jumping all over the place. My notes after this are basically just about specific things I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. So we have like the werewolf transformations in this movie. We don't see a lot of them, but when we do, they look fucking amazing. Thank you, Stan Winston, for that one. They're very similar to the ones in American Werewolf in London.
Never seen it.
That's sad. But they're like faster paced.
Yeah.
Like in American Werewolf, they take longer. In these, they're like quick cutting and it like happens very fast, but it looks awesome.
Well, you're assuming that somebody who's seen this has seen American Werewolf in London.
Oh, I'm sure.
So you're like, oh, this is nothing new to you. So let's just get back to the story and the action kind of thing.
And speaking of the werewolf, this movie answers a very prominent question that people have had for many, many years.
What's that?
What happens if you blow up a werewolf?
Oh, he just goes back together.
That, I think, is one of the most hilarious things that they did in this movie.
What? All I remember is like, we're panic to the werewolf, and I'm like, oh, okay. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. And then you just, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, that's the thing. Like, the rule is that only a silver bullet can kill a werewolf.
So you're telling me if this man is blown to chunky, tiny little bits, eventually these bits will be like, we gotta get back together. Like, no!
Apparently.
Logic says no. Then again, I don't really know if there's any werewolves out there, but, you know, comment down below if you're a werewolf. You know, have you been blown up? And just
let me know if we can blow you up and you'll just pull yourself back together.
That is the ultimate pull yourself back together man, though.
Yeah, no shit.
Hey, did you get bombed? Pull yourself back together, asshole. What the fuck?
The plot of this movie, essentially, it goes on a trajectory of they translate the diary, they figure out that they have to track down this amulet that Dracula needs in order to essentially gain enough power to where creatures of the night can rule the earth.
Yes.
That's his whole aim. And to do that, they have to go to where the diary was, which was it's like this old abandoned, I would call it a mansion.
I call it a mansion, yeah.
That's that's at the edge of town.
That Van Helsing's ancestors owned.
Yes. So they travel out there with Frankenstein, and I think I forget what Rudy and the other kid, Eugene, yeah, the little boy. Rudy and Eugene are at the same time going to try and find out if Eugene's older sister is a virgin, because they need a virgin for the ritual.
I have a bone to pick with this movie and this director.
Okay.
They had Rudy, a middle schooler, who was a virgin. They had all of these boys who were virgins. Why did the sister and the 5-year-old girl get considered virgins before the dumbass teenager Rudy, who's probably been pulling his fudge for months and months and months?
That's the big plot hole of the entire movie, is the fact that any one of the Monster Squad could have done the spell.
So they went with the 5-year-old. Traumatizing this tiny little actress.
We'll get there.
Can you imagine her going home going, Mom, what's a virgin?
Oh,
they kept calling me a virgin on set.
So they go out to this mansion. As soon as they go inside, because Frankenstein's footsteps are very heavy.
Yep.
They alert Dracula that they're there. somehow whatever Dracula's working on, the plunger goes down, blows
He's
something
Dracula.
up.
He's magical.
And the roof collapses on Frankenstein. They essentially get running with the Wolfman, which is the big scene. The Wolfman comes out.
Kick him in the nards. Kick him in
Shawn's
the
screaming,
nards.
kick him in the nards. And Horace kicks him in the nards.
Kicks him in the beans.
And is the big line of the movie.
Wolfman's got nards.
And then Dracula comes out, his brides come out, they're all cornering them essentially. They find Dracula's like trapdoor lever, which takes them down into the basement where they find the amulet.
Yep.
Shawn takes the amulet. They are able to get at Dracula finds them. Shawn gets grabbed, and they are able to get out of the situation because Horace has a sandwich with garlic in it or something that he sticks to Dracula's face. I never really knew what that was, but he sticks it to Dracula's face. He starts burning, and then they get away.
Shawn, I've always wanted to ask you, are you Dracula? Because anytime I make anything with garlic, you're like...
No.
I'm very disappointed by that answer.
Basically, from this point, we're in a mad dash to the finale.
Yeah.
Like, this ending goes very quickly.
It does, yeah.
We find out... So the sister tells Eugene and Rudy that she's a virgin.
Oh, I'm a virgin, I can help. So they're all driving to the town center.
Yeah, so they all...
This is... Okay, well before that, the father is trying to get to the kids at home. Dracula corners him, and Dracula blows up his partner in the cop car, and the mom comes out as Dracula turning into a bat, and the mom is just like, what is going on?
Well, that's the thing. Dracula goes to their house, blows up the treehouse fort.
Yep.
Well, he drives through their fence, blows up the treehouse fort. The dad meets him back at the house. He blows up the partner. Turns into a bat. The mom's like, what the fuck is going on?
At this point, I can bet you that their marital problems are nothing anymore.
No, so much of this movie is absolute chaos, and I love it. It's just like, oh my god!
This is why this movie is multiple viewings.
Yes.
Just like Night of the Creeps.
Yeah. So... They get out of... Shawn and Horace get out of the mansion. I think there's somebody else with them. I'm like...
The little kid with the puppy.
Yeah. No, that's Eugene.
Is that Eugene? Or Eugene's the brother?
No, Eugene's the youngest one.
You're missing a kid.
I am missing a kid. Who the fuck
you're missing
am I
a child. We need to find... Which child are you missing?
I lost a kid, guys. Help me.
Not my kid, I can tell you that much.
No, I don't have a kid.
There is Shawn, Patrick.
Patrick, that's who I'm missing.
Patrick is the one with the hot sister.
Yes, so Patrick, my bad. So basically all of our central characters converge here. So creepy German guy and Horace, like everybody shows up, meet up, and they all get into the creepy German guy's like World War II Jeep.
Yeah, which is interesting because the top's off, so you can see everything.
Yeah. And they're driving away, and they run into the mummy. The mummy latches onto the car, and they're all freaking out. And Rudy ties the end of the mummy's wrapping to an arrow, shoots it in a tree, and then since they're driving, he just gets pulled apart.
He slowly unravels till he's a skull in the middle of the road.
So that's how you defeat the mummy.
Brendan Fraser, you have been told.
It was that easy.
Yeah.
You fucked the whole thing up.
You fucked up.
Essentially, from here, they drive to the center of town because their logic is monsters hate religious places, and there's an old church at the center of town. It's not very good logic.
It's not, but if you remember when he found the amulet was surrounded by crucifixes.
Crosses and garlic, and a bunch of other stuff.
So obviously they knew that eventually he would come back for it. So there's kind of like, okay, I believe that they don't like.
And you know, I like the attention to detail there. I'm sidetracking a little. But we see Dracula break through the wall earlier in the movie and find the amulet. And at that moment, you're wondering, like, why doesn't he just fucking take it? It's right there. And then you see that room, and it's not nobody says anything about that stuff being around it.
Nope.
But it's just, Fred Dekker was like, no, people will see the garlic and the crosses and know he can't get in there.
No, he can't get in there. He's got to send Wolfman or one of the other people in there to retrieve it.
I love
That's why he needs his own squad, because he's a little bitch baby.
Yeah, and I love that Fred Dekker doesn't spoon feed you the information. He puts it in front of you and allows you to fucking absorb it.
The 5-minute rule is definitely 5-second rule is definitely in effect with this movie. You don't know. Okay. Me and my friend Erica came up with this. Anytime you don't understand why something's in a movie, it's a plot device, Mr. Frodo. Plot device. There's always a reason for it. And, wait, why did this happen? Wait 5 seconds. There is your answer. There is always a reason. And good directors like that will give you plot devices, and they will give you the 5-second rule. This director gives you both.
Yeah.
Very good director.
So they all make a mad dash to the center of town, where their plan is to redo the ritual, open the portal, and hopefully send Dracula and all the monsters back to the void, the limbo. And they're going to use Eugene's older sister as their
virgin
conduit.
Yeah, their virgin
to read the spell.
I said virgin sacrifice. I don't think it's that kind of movie.
No. And by this point, the whole movie is in chaos. Everybody is running everywhere, trying to like get to each other, and it's a fucking mad mashup of scenes.
Yep.
So
they do the ritual. Nothing happens. Then they find out that Eugene's sister is not a virgin.
No, as she puts it, well, there was Steve, but he didn't count.
He didn't count.
Fuck you.
So then they have to use Phoebe, the 5-year-old little girl, while scary German guy, I really wish this man had a name, feeds her the German words she has to recite. And in the middle of this, there's ensuing fight, there's Wolfman, there's the lizard dude.
Yeah, so let me run through that real quick. So during this whole massive sequence where they're trying to pull off the ritual, Wolfman is attacking everybody. This is where we have the big scene where the dad shoves dynamite in the Wolfman's pants, kicks him out a window.
Oh, I get it. He doesn't have nards anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
He explodes into pieces, reforms, because the only way you can kill a werewolf is with a silver bullet. And then the werewolf is, no. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Rudy is killing all of the brides of Dracula with stakes and a bow and arrow.
Yep.
The Wolfman comes up on him, and the cops try and, like, get its attention. They start attacking it. Rudy then takes one of the guns of the dead cops, puts a silver bullet in it, and shoots the Wolfman.
Who turns back into a human and says, thank you.
Because all he wanted was to be stopped.
Yep.
And I fucking love that.
That was great. Just him being like, thank you. I'm like, oh my god.
The Gill Man attacks Horace, and Horace, for some reason, has one of the cop's shotguns.
Blows that motherfucker out of the water in front of his bullies.
Yes.
And they're like, hey, fat kid, great job. And he's like, my name is Horace. I was like, they will never pick on that kid again, ever in their lives.
Fuck no. It was badass.
That was badass.
And I really like that he just one-shots the Gill Man, because it's just a fish man.
It literally is. It's just a fish man.
Like, it shouldn't take a lot to kill him. Great moment.
If they used dynamite, they would have had sushi.
Ooh. Missed opportunity. And as they're getting closer to pulling off the ritual, Dracula shows up.
Oh, and he grabs Phoebe by the neck.
Yes. This sequence, so let me paint this for you a little bit. Dracula shows up while they're in the middle of reciting the chant. Scary German guy basically tells Phoebe, don't look up. Just keep reading what I'm telling you to read. And Dracula's walking towards them. All these cops are trying to stop him, and they're nothing to him. He just killing all of them one by one. He gets to the little girl,
caresses her face gently.
He shoots something at scary German guy.
Yeah.
And he gets to the little girl, and he like just grabs her by the chin, and he lifts her up by her face.
And I'm like, this poor little 5-year-old. Now you're gonna get attacked by Dracula.
And he delivers the line, "Give me the amulet, you bitch."
To a 5-year-old.
It's the greatest moment. Oh my fucking god. She's looking at me like I'm a monster.
I was just like, what the fuck? This is a little kid.
I have a fun fact about this scene.
My Christ.
So during this sequence, so this sequence was done in one take.
Okay.
Duncan Rager, who played the Dracula character, he wouldn't wear the red contacts or fangs around her because she had scared her too much.
Yeah,
understandable. For the scene, Fred Dekker just told the Ashley Bank is the little girl, and he just went up to her and he said, "I want you to scream when they raise the platform," because she's on this like little platform. So she was like, "Well, when am I supposed to scream?" And he's like, "Don't worry, you'll know." And so they proceeded to shoot, and that terrifying scream that she lets out was the moment that Dracula opened his eyes and he had the contacts in, because he kept his eyes shut while he stood there. So the second he went, she fucking just lost her shit.
It. Oh my god.
So it's a genuine, real scream of fright.
This woman is like probably in her 40s now.
It fucking looks awesome.
It does. It's for the torture of children. I would love to ask this lady if she is terrified of red contacts and Dracula at this point in vampires. Like, how do you feel now that you're a 40-year-old lady? One of his favorite movies of all times, and he can't remember the sequence.
Falling apart. So, thankfully, Frankenstein shows up, and
because he is pissed. That is his friend.
He is pissed. And he grabs Dracula. Dracula drops the girl, and he says bogus and punches him into the air.
So fucking bogus. I'm like, oh my god, this is hilarious.
This frees everybody up. They are able to finish the ritual. They open the portal. Everything starts getting sucked in. Cars, trees, fucking Dracula. Well, actually,
Van Helsing flies out of the portal, grabs Dracula, and waves and smiles at Shawn.
Gives Shawn a thumbs up. Because why the fuck not?
Oh, and then little Phoebe is hiding behind a car just went through it, but she's hiding behind a park bench.
Yes.
That's not secured to anything. But
well, you assume it's secured to the ground,
but it's on its side.
Listen, it's a movie. Let it go.
It's not antics.
It's the Monster Squad. Come on.
Yeah, right? And, like, she's holding on to Frankenstein with her little 5-year-old hand. And she's like, don't go. He gets sucked into the portal. He's like, bye.
And she throws him in her teddy bear.
She throws him her teddy bear so he has a friend in limbo.
It's such a sad little moment at the end of this movie.
It actually gave me, like, I wanted to cry. I was like, oh my god, poor Phoebe. I keep wanting to say for Phoebe Cates.
No.
That is not. Nope.
We're not watching Gremlins.
And she's wearing red too.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm like, oh dear lord. Isn't Phoebe Cates in Fast Times at Ridgemont High too?
Mm-hmm.
With the bathing suit scene?
Yeah. The red bathing suit.
That's why I said little Phoebe's wearing red too.
Unless you think she wears red in Gremlins too.
In Gremlins or Gremlins 2?
Gremlins.
But you said Gremlins 2.
As well. You bitch.
Hey! There'll be no swearing in this household.
But Dracula, Frankenstein, all the monsters are either dead or have gone through into limbo, and the portal closes.
Yep.
And right on cue, the fucking military shows up.
The National Guard shows up and like, oh, who are you kids? And Shawn hands him the business card that says, we're the Monster Squad.
Do you realize why the military showed up?
No.
It's because there's a small moment earlier in the movie where Eugene writes a letter, a really shitty letter that just says something like, "Military guys, monsters are here. Come help, Eugene." And he mails it. So the military showed up based on a handwritten letter by a child.
At least a 7-year-old. He had to be about 7 or 8. Oh my god.
It's so fucking stupid, and I love it.
And Eugene is always followed by this little beagle.
Yes.
This little beagle barks all the time, never shuts up. The little beagle is the one that licks the envelope for Eugene.
Yes.
It is stupid adorable and stupid at the same time.
But that, in a nutshell, is the Monster Squad.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Is it closing questions time?
I think it might be.
All right.
All right. Overall thoughts on the film?
It was cute. Not my cup of tea.
No?
No, it was cute.
It didn't do anything for you?
No, not really. It was a cute movie. I'm glad I finally watched it. I'm glad I know what... He looks so bummed.
She breaks my heart.
I'm gonna break something else.
My heart. Darling, you left my heart in pieces on the floor.
Pieces. They're exactly what you think they are.
Oh,
it was a cute.
fuck.
It was a cute movie. I like it. I will not say it's a terrible movie. I'm very shocked I never saw this movie as a kid in the 90s. This would have had more of an impact when I was a kid. Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, it's cute. If I watched it as a kid like you did, it might be more impactful.
I can understand that.
Niche movies like these, like kind of like cult following movies like these, never really was a Rocky Horror Picture Rocky Horror Picture Show fan. Wow. All right. But as I became an adult, I was like, oh, okay, it's a good movie. I see why people like this, but if I watched it when I was younger, it would have made more sense for me to be a huge fan. This, from like my obsession with Labyrinth, this is yours. Like, I can kind of see the parallels between...
Well, this isn't, to preface, this isn't my favorite movie of all time.
No, but I can see why, like, a movie like that, like Dark Crystal, The Labyrinth, The Never-Ending Story, huge movies like that have cult followings, and why they have the cult followings. Would I ever be a big fan of like this of you? Probably not. But it's also not the type of movie I'm more of a fan of. I'm more of a high fantasy person.
Right.
This is spoopy, scary monsters, and this is your cup of tea. Although I love Frankenstein. He's so cute. What about you, sweetie?
So, for me, this is a film that I have always loved. This is part of a holy trinity for me. So, the holy trinity being Night of the Creeps, Monster Squad, and Fright Night.
Oh, okay.
There are 3 movies that they have a very similar tone to them, and they're all like that over-the-top horror comedy sort of blend. And it's a movie that I can watch 100 million times and never get sick of.
Okay.
I love everything about it. I love the characters. I love the effects. I love everything. There's nothing I don't like about this movie. And that's never going to change. Like, it's one of those movies that every time I watch it, I enjoy it even more. Did you have any favorites?
Bogus. Anytime Frankenstein was on the screen, I liked Frankenstein. He was really cool. It's definitely going to be one of those movies that I understand why it's very quoted in this house. I see why, like, there's a huge cult following. But yeah, definitely Frankenstein was my favorite lines, favorite character. Anything he was in was my favorite in this movie. What about you?
Well, there's the obvious Wolfman's got nards.
Yep.
But my absolute favorite line of the whole movie has and always will be, "Give me the amulet, you bitch." Because, for fuck's sake, Dracula is screaming this at a 5-year-old girl. Like, how is that not amazing?
I hope that actor afterwards, like, "Give me the amulet, you bitch." Ah! Cut. I am so sorry. Sweetie, do you want an ice cream? Do you want a hug? What do you need? What do I need to apologize to you? Oh, God.
Does it work?
I don't know how to answer this question because I personally think it does. Obviously, the director at some point didn't. Because, heartbreakingly, he gave up after this.
Obviously, the box office numbers prove that it didn't.
But the fans will tell you it does. The one thing that I have learned about the world, about music, about films, about books, about anything, love what you fucking love. Don't listen to critics. Don't listen to people who tell you, no, it's not good. No. Some of my favorite things in the world I would have never gotten into if it weren't for me going, I'm just going to try it. Everybody in the world was like, oh, don't get into that. It's stupid. Don't. I started getting into Game of Thrones well in the beginning. And I was like, well, I like high fantasy. Let's give it a try. I dove right into it. And when the world started seeing it get big, yeah, unfortunately, I was there with everybody. But it was not for a lack of trying. I wanted to watch it. It was on HBO. No offense, but HBO costs money, kids.
Yeah.
And I was very poor. Couldn't afford it. But little things like that. Like, I love D&D. I play D&D all the time. Now D&D is getting big again because of Stranger Things. But when I started playing back in like 2005, 2006, there wasn't really a resurgence of it then. It was just 8 of us in a basement having a good time because we were young and stupid and didn't have anything else to do with our Sunday night. Almost like 10 years later, we were still playing it. You know, to this day, it's 20, almost 18 years later. I'm still playing D&D when I can. You are still loving your movies. You are a director because you're a director, you're creative. You're doing what you love because you never gave up on it. You did give up on it for a little while and realized that you don't want to give up on this.
I can't.
No.
I tried and I failed to give up.
If people are telling you to give up, you're nothing, you're no good, you're worthless, don't do this, fuck them. Do what you want that makes you happy. Do you have a 9-to-5 job that you can't stand, but you were told you have to have a 9-to-5 job to make it? Quit your job. Go do what you're passionate about. Need health insurance? You need money? There's always a way. You'll always find something. You can do it. Stop worrying about tomorrow. Be fucking happy. I'm saying all this stuff. When in reality, I should be following it. But not that I hate my job. I don't hate my job. I've been stuck in the same predicament for like weeks now. Next week we find out if I can get out of this cast. But I've put a lot of my dreams on hold because I've had to. And it kills me. And that passion isn't there because I've listened to people who said, well, it's not a real job. You're not really that good. You can only get good with practice. And when I moved in here with you, you had a shit job you hated. And I kept telling you, I support you 1,000,000%. Not even kidding. Quit your fucking jobs. Go after your dream. Now, it's not really there, but you're almost in your dream jobs. You're in your field. You're doing what you need to. But it was because I sat here and went, not really all because of it, but it was because you had somebody on your side going, I believe in you. Don't listen to anybody else. Go do it. Go do it. Go do it. Just do it. And I know once you're settled, you'll do the same for me. And I'll do it the same for everybody else. So to this director, what was his name again?
Fred Dekker.
Sorry, Fred. Mr. Fred Dekker. I have just watched this movie, Monster Squad, for the first time. Yes, I said this is a cute little movie. But I can see your passion behind this film. And it breaks my heart that you stopped. It breaks my heart to pieces that you stopped because you listened to people.
To be fair, he didn't entirely stop, but
no, but
I think he lost the creative edge, the creative drive.
But that's what happens to being with somebody who's creative, and I have tons of friends that are very creative. I've watched them get beat down. I've watched you get beat down.
It happens.
It does. Don't give up. Don't give up. I should be looking in a mirror saying this to myself. I've given up so many times. But, oh my God, don't give up. Please. Go after your dreams, for God's sakes. Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck in that dead-end 9 to 5, coming home, living for the weekends. That's not fun. That's not. You know, our sole purpose is not to feed and shelter the girls. They think it is because they're both staring at us because it's dinner time. Little bitches. This does work. This works whether people believed it or not back in 87, and it works now. And I'm going to skirt right into, would I remake it? No. No, I wouldn't touch this movie. This is a movie of its time. This is the movie of the 80s. This is a movie of practical magic. Practical magic. No, wrong movie. Back it up. Of practical effects. There was nothing CG generated in anything like that. This was all practical. This is a great movie. Is it my cup of tea? No. That doesn't mean I can't see how wonderful this movie is. This movie works 100%, and it does not need to be redone. Don't touch it.
Well, it goes without saying for me that this movie has worked, will always work. And I think it works on a level that people don't realize. Like, just based on the detail that we're able to pull out of it on this one viewing, I feel like there's so much more to this movie that people don't give it credit for. I feel like it has... Yeah, it's a cheesy little Goonies style story with monsters, but it also has a lot of heart in it. There's a lot in there that Fred Dekker and Shane Black put in that just, it speaks to elements of life that people often don't put on screen.
That people forget.
And I don't know, I have really always been a supporter of this movie, and I wish others would see it the way I do. Would I recommend it? Absolutely.
No, you skip one.
No, I didn't. This is the order it goes in.
Did I fuck it up?
Yeah.
Oh.
Would I recommend it? Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Like, 100%. I really think people should watch this. Like, yeah, some people might not enjoy it the way I do, but that's fine. I think you'll find something cool in it, or at least fun in it. Funny. It's a funny fucking movie. Would I make this today? Fuck no. It doesn't deserve to be remade. It doesn't need to be remade. Remakes should be reserved for movies that were absolutely shitty when they first came out, but had a cool concept that maybe somebody could do something cool with. This was not absolutely shitty. This is a fucking awesome movie. Don't remake this. That, and to be fair, the classic monsters aren't relevant anymore.
No.
They've tried to bring them back how many times, and every time they fail.
They keep bringing them back in stupid ways, though, that drive us crazy.
Yeah. And this is the way to do it. Like, it's been done.
To answer your question, I would recommend this.
Would you?
Yeah, actually, I would. I would recommend this because it's not a true crazy horror film. I think, like, for the 80s, this one was a little rough for kids. But, like, kids I know today, they can handle this. This is fine. They'd actually enjoy this. So, yes, I would recommend this.
So the big final question, mainstream exploitation or other?
This is mainstream. This is mainstream.
Wholeheartedly disagree.
What? For the first time ever in 40 episodes.
This is not the first time that we've disagreed. I classify this as other.
You think?
Yeah, this definitely doesn't fall under mainstream. Like, nobody would have been clamoring for a movie like this. Mainstream would be reserved for more things like Jurassic Park or fucking...
Nobody needed Jurassic Park.
No, but...
Jurassic Park, to me, was only mainstream because of the groundbreaking advances it made.
You're not wrong. But I wouldn't... This definitely isn't exploitation. Doesn't push boundaries in any way.
It pushes boundaries by calling a 5-year-old a bitch.
That's about it. But this would definitely fall under other. It's something that comes out of left field. It's an absolutely ridiculous little film. The cat is attacking my foot.
Talk about monsters, huh?
We have our own monster squad right here.
It's because they're hungry.
Yeah. But yes,
Feed me,
I
Seymour.
would classify this as other.
Other? Okay.
But I think that brings this discussion on Monster Squad to an end. Unless you have anything else you'd like to mention.
That cat's got nards.
No, she doesn't. We got her
Oh,
fixed.
yes, she does. Look at her.
We got her fixed.
She's gonna ruin those shoes.
Don't go anywhere just yet. Please stay tuned for the coming attractions.
Within this old house live two residents. One of them is John Russell, composer, professor. The other has been dead for over 70 years.
Claire, I'd like to talk to you about the house.
Did you die in this house? How did you die?
Whatever it is trying desperately to communicate. What is it in that house, Claire? What is it doing? Why is it trying to reach me? It's a hand. Senator, I'm John Russell. I'm living in your house. Senator, look, I want to show him that. You've got something of the senator's. He wants it back.
John?
What is it you want? What do you want from me?
Many films will frighten you, but only a few can really terrify you. The Changeling, an experience beyond total fear.
So next up for our Halloween movies for the month, we have The Changeling. I have not seen this movie.
I have never heard of this movie. I only know Changelings because of Doctor Who and D&D. But I pulled up I didn't look at the synopsis, I pulled up the movie poster, so we have no idea what you guys just heard. But the tagline on the top says, "How did you die, Joseph? Did you die in this house? Why do you remain?" So this is interesting. And it looks like it stars George C. Scott and Trisha Van Devere.
George C. Scott. Gotta love him.
I know that name. Definitely know that name. But it looks very interesting.
Everything I've heard and seen about the movie, it looks and sounds great. Like I've heard some really great stuff about it. It's just one I've never had a chance to watch, and our podcast gives us the perfect fucking excuse to check it out.
Right? So one of the actors is Melvin Douglas, who I swear to God, we just watched him in House on Haunted Hill. What year did that come out? It's the 30s, right? No. He looked very very familiar. But wow, this definitely is going to be an interesting movie.
Yeah, I think it could be pretty fun. I'm always up for something that neither of us have ever seen.
That's what I know George C. Scott from. A Christmas Carol.
Well, I know George C. Scott from The Exorcist 2. Or, sorry, Exorcist 3.
Firestarter as well. He was in.
Oh, yeah, he's in Firestarter. I always forget that.
I've never seen Firestarter. I've never seen No, I have seen The Exorcist. I don't remember it. 100% do not remember The Exorcist.
Well, that'll be fun to revisit then.
One of the most terrifying movies ever made.
At the time.
Alright, I watched Rosemary's Baby because I was told it was the most horrifying movie I'd ever watched.
At the time.
I laughed. I fucking laughed, and I went, I don't trust horror movies anymore.
All right, well, I think that brings today's episode to an end. If you want to keep up on everything that we're doing, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Grindhouse Podcast. We're on Twitter at GrindhouseCast. You can head over to our Discord and chat with Leah about this film, any of the films that we've talked about. Or coffee, anything you want.
Just say hi.
She needs friends, guys. All the links for everything are going to be down in the show notes. Listen to us, give us a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your morning fix. New episodes come out first thing every Monday morning, unless you support us on Acast
when they come
or
out.
Patreon.
Yep. They come out Friday morning at 6 a.m.
Yes, we have now set it up to where anybody that supports the show, if you subscribe to a certain tier level, you'll get the early access to the episodes, which means you get them Friday morning while everybody else gets them Monday morning.
Yep.
So you get them the whole weekend to hear us.
To hear our beautiful voices.
Hint, hint. Support the show.
Please, we're hungry. So are the cats.
We're thirsty. We need more caffeine. Until next week, I'm Shawn.
I'm Leah.
Thanks for listening, and keep watching.
Oh, I remembered.
Scenes in this film, it is definitely not recommended for the squeamish.